Welcome to the Module 5, Stakeholder Engagement in Tourism. This training is prepared for you within the EU co-funded project Sustainable Ecotourism Awareness. And we hope that it will help you with your green certification in the other tourism-related issues that you have. And we will keep this class very interactive, so feel free to put on your cameras. And I will try to speak slowly because I know English is not the first language for many of you. In the settings of Teams, it allows you to put on captions so that you can see the transcript of what I'm saying as I'm saying it. And with this, I think we start from the basics while we are still waiting for more participants. My name is Yulia Skupchenko. I'm co-founder of Think Tank AlterContacts. It is an NGO in the consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council. We work, actually, no, that's later. The introduction to the organization is later. My personal introduction is going to be short. Stakeholder engagement was something that I have been doing since 2012. This was actually my first ever job, and it hasn't stopped since. So I had a lot of time to improve my skills and to learn from the best. With the Think Tank AlterContacts, we are engaging a variety of stakeholders, such as governments, local communities, and we work with different universities and many other types, and in many different ways, which we probably will cover during the talk. What else do you need to know about me in regards to this topic? I think we will have a chance to find out during the class, probably. Now to the first interactive element, and I hope you are all here. You can hear me because now it's time to join the first interactivity with the phone or on the same device. You can scan, let me put in the chat the details. So let's make sure that everybody can do this, because we're gonna do this Mentimeter many times throughout the class. So it's important that you all can join. I see that already somebody joined. In the chat, please find the link to Mentimeter. You can open it in a different window, so to have the class in one window and to have your Mentimeter in another window. This way, you can follow both the class and the interactivity. I see that already we have 6 respondents, and 4 of them have sent their answers. Thank you very much. It's nice to see that even being a small group for the moment, we are quite a diverse group. So if I was not hosting this Mentimeter, I would write Netherlands in there. Okay, Malta, Italy, Serbia, Croatia, Greece. This is very nice spread of points of view, and hopefully we're gonna have a very interesting class today, thanks to that. I'll wait a moment more. Maybe somebody else will join. In the meantime, and please keep the Mentimeter open on the side of your on the screen. In the meantime, I would like to introduce my co-founder and co-host of this class, Massimo Mercuri. Maybe Massimo, just a few words about stakeholder engagement or tourism, or some of your background that our listeners might be interested in knowing.
Thank you, Julia. Good afternoon, everybody. To make it very simple, I've been a project manager for over a decade in different places, and I have worked with more than 100 nationalities. And frankly, I think stakeholder engagement or managing relationships and managing dialogue is probably the most important thing to assure the success of any project, any company, even new products or new services. And so I hope that this session will be fruitful for everybody, and hopefully we will all come out more confident that we can succeed in our ventures, in whatever we are doing.
Thank you very much, Massimo. And that is actually a great bridge to our next interactivity. And here let's find out what type of organizations do we have today in the room. So I see that we have more joiners. So please, in the chat, follow the link to Mentimeter and choose a type of organization that you represent. So we have nonprofit or community. We have one aspiring entrepreneur. If I had to choose a category here for AlterContacts, that would be quite tricky, because we are a combination of the NGO, so community civil society organization, and at the same time we are still a small business, so it would be somewhere in between. So we have aspiring entrepreneurs today. That's very nice. They're the okay, one SME in tourism, excellent. So if anybody just joined, please follow the link in the chat and choose the type of organization that you represent.
Alternatively, you can just go to menti.com and use the code that you see on the screen that Julia is sharing at the top of the slide. You can see join at menti.com and use the code. That you can do on your phone or on another window.
Well, I see that we still have only 4 answers out of 7. Okay, we have more participants and we have more results. Excellent. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs today, and that's wonderful, because really the content of this training in general is tailored to help you to get certified in green tourism and help you be more sustainable. So hopefully we are in the right place at the right time. I'm assuming there are no more answers, so we'll just go to the next slide. Hang in there. This is a question that will help us tailor the stories and examples and the content a little bit more towards what is relevant to you. Again, I see a few more people joining. Thank you very much. For those who just joined, please access the link in the chat for the Mentimeter and share with us what is the main purpose of the organization that you represent. Please take your time, because this class is going to be very interactive. So it all depends on what you share with us. We will share back with you the insights that might be relevant. So take your time, take a moment, and write what your organization do. What does your organization do? Okay, research and consultancy on sustainable development. I have a feeling I know who wrote that.
Yeah, that was me. I wonder if maybe not everybody is used to use Menti, and maybe they are typing or something and they do not press submit at the end. In the bottom, there is a button. They scroll.
All right, so we promised an interactive class. So if this is a little bit of a cold start maybe for our participants, no, well, so actually somebody is sharing, so maybe we'll go back to that. So in my upcoming entrepreneurial consultancy, I'd love to help organizations in their journey to certifications. So it's an inspiring entrepreneur consultant. Very good. Maybe, Massimo, what do you think if we do go around verbally instead of through Menti?
Actually, we can start picking up, and maybe we can have a little bit of an explanation from whoever posted this one.
That's a great idea. Okay.
Type, yeah.
Whoever posted this note with that in the Mentimeter, can you please unmute yourself and put yourself on the video and tell us a little bit more about what type of consultancy are you thinking about, and what have you been looking at already?
Hello, I am one of the authors of the notes.
Hello, thank you very much for writing the note. So tell us, Carla, tell us a bit more about your idea, whatever you can share.
Sure. So I'm here to start to get technical information because I'd love to help organizations get their sustainability certifications.
All right, and would this be your, so which sector or which industry or what the previous experience in certifications are you coming from to this idea?
I worked both in the sustainability certification field and in hospitality. So I'm here to join these worlds together and make something new out of it.
Well, it's excellent that you are ready to share and you are well spoken. So you're gonna in this class we're gonna try to talk about the cases that are relevant, and maybe we discuss some of the cases that you have seen and then we analyze them together. I see also on video we have one other participant, Zvonko. I'm not sure if it's the first name or the second name. Sorry. Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and
yes. Good day to everyone. I come from Croatia, and I'm owner of organic farm and eco rural house. We have eco label certificate in Croatia, number 9, and from Green Destination, Good Travel Seal level 3 platinum, the highest certificate for heritage and sustainability.
That's pretty impressive. And what is your key interest today in this class?
My interest is to know how to teach other people to go to how to do certificate. But I apologize, my English is in the basic level and some words I don't know.
Actually, you're doing great. Your English is perfect for today. We're gonna try to keep everything very simple in terms of language, but very interesting in terms of content. Thank you very much, Zvonko. Yes, Professor Dr. Lydia Petrovic.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm awfully sorry for the camera because I'm currently at the airport between 2 flights, so the connection is very low. Please let me introduce myself. My name is Lydia Petrovic. I'm a full professor. Currently, I'm in Belgrade. I'm teaching. I'm affiliated by the Business School of the Serbian Olympic Committee, but I used to teach at Carolina University, US. I'm full professor in international business administration, focused on sport business, sports event management. This is how tourism is very close. Event management is a part of tourism as well, not only sport business. So I used to work with Malta as a part of the MACT Institute, their network, on some projects. In fact, we started to develop some courses in the field of international management and international trade. So I consider this course very interesting for me to learn and to upgrade my knowledge with the latest trends in sustainable tourism and green certification. What else? Maybe it will be useful to say that I used to live in the Baltics and was the associate professor in the same area at the LCC International University. So I belong to the American chain of universities for many years now. I teach for over 17 years now.
Well, thank you very much, Lydia, and it's very nice to have such a diverse group. Already we have an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur consultant, and then we have an eco-entrepreneur, so from Croatia, and then we have a representative of academia and research and universities. So I think if anybody else would like to speak, please press the button above in your above panel that says raise the hand, and we will see you and we will ask you to open your mic and speak. For now, I saw that we had another answer in Mentimeter. The answer is, my goal is to actively contribute to initiatives and projects focused on environmental sustainability, promoting professional development and innovative solutions for environmental protection. The training is only as relevant as you are present in the class, so it's nice to see that you are here and that you're speaking with us. Let me just say a few words about the organization that is bringing you the insights. As I mentioned, AlterContacts is a think tank for sustainable development. Since 2022, we collaborate closely with the United Nations through our special consultative status. That means that whatever research that we do, we then analyze all the insights and submit it for policy making at the level of United Nations and the European Commission and different individual governments. And that is in short precisely what we do. We focus on building sustainable partnerships, on doing the research, both desktop, of course, and mostly in the field. You will almost not find us in the Netherlands because we're constantly traveling, researching different aspects of sustainable living across different regions of Europe. Mediterranean, of course, is our favorite region. Massimo, if maybe you want to jump in and add something about what angle AlterContacts brings to the stakeholder engagement in tourism.
Well, maybe one thing that that is relevant to mention about the way we operate is that thanks to the UN, we have the possibility to engage United Nations volunteers, of which many have a very high degree of education and have a very diverse background. And that allows us to do very fast desktop research. And once we have the desktop research done, then some of us, or those who are on site in the places that we are researching, they then go and see on the ground really what is happening, talking to people, because we can of course learn a lot from data. We can learn a lot from surveys. We can learn a lot from the statistics, but the statistics will only give us numbers. And many times these numbers, because of the aggregation of the statistics, do not tell the full story of what is happening on the ground. A specific case, a year ago, when I landed in the island of Crete in Makrijalos, which is a village of 800 people. This village is a village of fishermen and little businesses. And of course, there are a couple of hotels and many little Airbnb or rental of rooms and so on. So this is quite an interesting situation, because from 800 people who live there during the summer, it grows up to 5,000. So this begs the question, of course, what is the capacity to carry that many people for that location? And that is just the beginning of the issue. When we think about sustainability, when we think about the capacity of a place, is very often when we see statistics and we see data, to think about how much water is there. What is the capability of the drainage of the place? Is what are the needs of energy sufficient, right? But very few people think about the community. What happens to the community? What are the effects of having suddenly temporal residents? Because some of these tourists, they stay for a month, they stay for 2 months even. Others just come for a couple of days. And then there are lots of dynamics that one can observe. And it was very interesting because I was arriving there with my sustainability flag, and my hat of helping small businesses and becoming more sustainable and so on. And I arrived in the same week when the Greek government introduced a much higher VAT tax. VAT is what in Italy is called IVA, which is the tax on the added value. And not only, but introduce this tax over everything. So even if you include a tip for the waiter in the credit card, when you're paying with a card at a restaurant and you include a tip, that tip will pay a tax. The additional thing that happened is that the Greek government introduced the possibility of increasing the hours per week that people can work. Well, basically, when I started speaking about my love for sustainability to some of the restaurant owners or to some of the small businesses that I found there, I was faced with a frowning is little compared to what I faced, because some people were downright sarcastic. Because when they're faced with challenges that hit on their financial income and they cannot control it because it's done by policymakers, then they have different priorities.
This is what we need to take to keep into account when we talk about green certification in general. It is for the most part a nice to have. So a lot of the businesses that are financially challenged cannot focus on that at that time. And especially, I think, in the world that, for example, Carla, you mentioned you want to be a consultant to others on how to get certified. This is something to keep in mind, of course, that it's their nice to have need for most people, and there might be in the sustainable. Indeed, Massimo mentioned that in the journey of trying to help, especially small businesses, being more sustainable, we face a lot of resistance precisely on the monetary point. Maybe this is a good moment, Carla, if you want to jump in, and if you already had some interaction with the possible clients, and what did they tell you?
I worked for a major Italian tour operator and hospitality company recently, and even for such a big and healthy, financially speaking, company, sustainability wasn't really integrated into their strategy. I think they will do that when it is absolutely compulsory, when they will have to. So if for such a big company, integrating sustainability strategies is an issue, is a problem, and is not perceived as a need, figure out for small enterprises. So yes, I know.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing this. Indeed, big or small, unless it's financially interesting or financially relevant, a lot of the businesses would say thanks, but no thanks. To keep our conversation interesting to everybody as well. Thank you very much, Carla, and thank you very much, Zvonko, that you and Professor Lydia, that you have participated. I wonder if there are more people that are present that would like to put on their cameras so that we know that we can also engage you in a conversation and to make this class a bit more relevant also for everybody. Thank you very much. Please just put on your cameras, and then we will know that at some point we can ask you something. For now, I will give it another shot with the Mentimeter. When you hear so in the chat, the link is still the same. Feel free to follow the link or just go to menti.com and use the code you see on the screen and write down what do you think, what comes to mind when you hear the word stakeholder. We are here to talk about stakeholder engagement. Let's see where the group is in terms of knowledge on what stakeholder is. So whoever wrote chain and ring, I'm assuming it's the same person. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Hi, hello, I'm Greta.
Hello, Greta. Please tell us what did you mean?
It's like something that it's a chain, something that is connected to other parts of the sector of tourism. So without stakeholder, something doesn't work.
Okay, so it's
a main part of to take care of.
All right, so it's more about interconnectivity.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I will share back the screen because answers. So we have a system, we have expectations. Also, I saw in the chat we had a contribution that says internal and external interest groups. Yes, that is, of course. Another answer is relevant. Another answer is public sector companies. So it's a bit of everything. So whatever comes to mind really when the people say stakeholder. If we talk about definitions of stakeholder and what does it mean for you, it is stakeholder ultimately is anybody that you affect with your organization, with your activities, and it is everybody who can affect you and your activities. And I think Greta's answer about ring in the chain, about interconnectivity was quite spot on. And of course, other types of answers such as customers, companies, clients, citizens, and public sector, they're all part of the stakeholder groups. I think the reason why we included this question here is precisely because it is not always clear what are the situations that involve stakeholders. In reality, it's almost every single situation you're a part of. Massimo, you want to help me out here?
Yeah, the reason why we have these questions at the beginning and is basically the first segment of today's session. The first segment is precisely to create the awareness or the step out of the typical of what happens typically in a lesson when you get a diagram and then you have definitions of things, but does not allow the brain to think about what is really the matter. And the word stakeholders is always like a mythological thing in many minds. And indeed, as Julia said, is anybody who can have an effect on what you're doing and vice versa, everybody that is affected by what you do. So for those who like to have list of names or list of definitions, you can start, of course, the main stakeholders are obviously the same people that the business is employing and the people who work for that business, not only the employees, but also the contractors, also those who provide a service to this business. And then, of course, the clients. The clients directly and indirectly, and suppliers directly and indirectly, because if you think about sustainability, and for example, you need to buy bottles, and the bottles that you're buying are coming from a place that is far, far away and is using a long logistic chain to arrive to your business, you're increasing your carbon footprint. That means that supplier probably is not a supplier that will help you becoming more sustainable. You need a supplier that is close by. Or a supplier that uses materials that are sourced more locally. That includes the ingredients. Yeah, it is very, very common to see in a restaurant of an all-inclusive hotel that you see that they bring the meat from New Zealand. So you are in the south of Italy, and then you are in an all-inclusive hotel, and you have a steak, and this steak comes from the other side of the planet. And this place probably is even certified with a lot of sustainable seals and sustainable names and so on. But let's be realistic. How long has that steak traveled, right? It can have all the certifications in the world, but it cannot be just as sustainable as the steak that comes from a cow that was raised in Italy and that has been eating the grass in Italy. And the amount of stakeholders that are around is not only related to the operation of the business, but it's also related to everything around, which is the local government, of course. You know, somebody mentioned, I think it was the professor Lydia mentioned public and private enterprises, and not only that, but what happens with the style and the tone of the communication of the business. So we could say that the stakeholders extend in a systemic way from the very close all the way to farther around the business and beyond, including, for example, the type of tone in the advertisement of a company. Is the advertisement inspiring a pleasant situation? Is it inspiring good feelings? Is it inspiring good habits? Or is the advertisement that they use fostering a behavior that is not sustainable? So it's very common that you have in the advertisement of a beautiful place in the mountain, or a beautiful place at sea, and you see the nature, you see the lakes, you see the mountain, you see the snow, or you see the sea. And then when you arrive there, what you have is a bunch of different mechanical toys for those who like mechanical toys. And then you are surrounded by the noise of motorboats, of motorcycles, and who knows how many other objects that are used for entertainment, which is true that it is an entertainment, but probably should not be in that place. Because it's not only damaging the nature is also a stakeholder. The planet is a stakeholder.
I think that's a great point where I can bridge. I wanted to say, and thank you very much, Massimo, for this in contribution, that ultimately engaging stakeholders can be translated into a more basic language, as in working with people, but people belonging to different types of organizations and different types of groups and representing different types of interests, because ultimately a stake is, in this case, is an interest, and a holder is a person who has that interest. So I want to look maybe at the specific case. You know, Skupchenko, you shared with us that your farm has already certified in a number of programs. And what you want to do is to help the people in your village to do the same. Or can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. On our farm, we are organic certificated farm. we produce fruit and vegetables, and I think in October we have also Demeter certificated in biodynamic production, and we do some workshops on biodynamic and on organic practice, some workshops for other people to share with them how to do the certificate for houses EU Eco-label, and some workshops for children's in basic school to how to plant, how to work in a garden.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I see Massimo wanted to say something, or not?
Yeah, I would like to ask why, and this is a very important question.
Yes.
Always.
Why? We decide to share our knowledge and our life. We live this moment, and we want to share our knowledge to other people.
Well, that's wonderful. That is wonderful ambition. And I think considering that we are now in stakeholder engagement class, so when you deliver the workshops or when you work with other people,
yes,
what is the main challenge? So what is the main difficulty that you face?
It's to collect the people who is interested for this. I have support from regional authorities and from Ministry of Tourism also, and it's hard to find the people who is interested, but local authority they pay some costs for this certification. Sometimes it's 100%. And people is not interested for now, but the region from I come is also a biodistrict, first in Croatia and in this part of Europe. And we also write some papers for this biodistrict. And it's in Croatia, I think that's in mental, it was how I can't say the right word. It's it's their mind.
It's the mentality.
It's not maybe it's not interested, but I think maybe it's not enough informed.
Thank you very much, Ronko. If I can summarize your case for the group just one more time. So basically, you run an eco farm and you're certified in many different systems.
Yes.
And you would like to share that knowledge also with the people in your region and beyond your region. And you have the support from the local administration, and you have a support from a regional administration and even the Ministry of Tourism you mentioned, right?
Yes.
And some of the certification is fully funded. However, the people in your region and beyond are not very interested to get certified or to learn about it. So which one? To get certified or to learn about it?
I think both. I think it's both. But we have good cooperation with the center, Dr. Rudolf Steiner. This is the World Biodynamic Association, and they also help me. We together do these workshops, and when the people come to listen, and after then is doing nothing. I don't know why.
So it is actually quite common that it is, I think, a common problem to many different programs that are delivered, subsidized or for free in order to introduce a new mentality shift. I noticed there was a question in the chat from Greta. If I'm not mistaken, you mentioned you had a question, or you wanted to contribute your experience. Greta.
No, I was wondering who were the participants of these workshops. If simple citizen or tour operators or hospitality manager.
All of this you said, all of this kind. It's from people from 8 age old to 50, 60, and managers, and these workshops is open for everyone. And we do workshops to Droger Markt also here in our farm. They practice to cook the food from their bioproducts. And when they come, they don't know everything about, but they also sell this product, and they don't know how to prepare this food. And then we learned them, and they share this knowledge.
Well, thank you very much, Zvonko, for describing your stakeholder group, and thank you, Greta, for participating. Given your question, Greta, do you have also your own experience with this type of programs and how to engage?
And currently I'm a teacher, and I would like to become a consultant in sustainable tourism. So my only experience and case studies come from my students and from their internship in the company where they will work for. I'm teaching in a program parallel to university. It's called ITS, and it's a level, mid-level under university. So the course are 2 years long, and they do 700 hours of internship. So some of them, they choose to do the final project work with me. I teach sustainability tourism, or it depends on the course. So I work with them even when they are doing the internship. So I knew the problem through them.
All right. So basically, you are also engaged in bringing people into a sustainable mindset. And I'm sorry if I missed the country that you're based in.
Italy.
Okay, so we have Italy, we have Croatia, and we have entrepreneur and a teacher and a biofarm. So that's wonderful. You know, with this, I mean, we have more participants, and I welcome everybody to turn on your camera and jump in. But I think the key question that we need to address when we talk about stakeholder engagement and green certifications is why would they want? So, Zvonko, you already mentioned, and it's a question to everybody. I'm just giving your example as an example. So why would the small businesses, or why would the individuals, or why would the students or the companies, why would they want to embrace the sustainability path? Why would they want to get certified? And Massimo, if you want to contribute with the answer or another question, please feel free.
Well, actually, I can just get it started. So maybe I get the ball rolling because the normal pattern is to think top down. You know, a government adopts a sustainable rhetoric and introduces policies. The universities create study around it, and the vocational education providers, they create, of course, fast certification things, but very rarely there is the what marketing uses for marketing is never used for this kind of stuff. It needs to be advertised, touching what is important for the people. If for the people is important that their business is going to be more successful, this is the message to give. It's not about if you become certified in sustainability, you will help the planet. No, if you become certified in sustainability and you follow the regulations and you follow the sustainable practices, you will have more clients. More people will want to come to your restaurant, to your hotel, to your organic farm, to your city, including, because there are towns where tourists begin to like more because they're more sustainable. Of course, we have the famous ancient case of Zermatt, when Zermatt decided not to have any engine inside of the village. Yeah, that was a very long time ago in Switzerland. But we have also recent cases in some islands. And this is the reason also why all this training in sustainable tourism has been created, and is the reason for this project to exist, is because there is a growing amount of people who prefer to go to places that are sustainable. Either is because there is less noise, or because there is less garbage, or because there is a better awareness, or simply because the food tastes better. Because believe it or not, in this world where there is a lot of industrial food, and sadly because of the jobs in the cities, everybody has to sometimes eat very fast and eat prepackaged things and all that, especially in the countries where people can afford to travel and to travel far for their vacation, they try to go to a place where they know that they will eat better. It's one of the reasons why I'm in Greece, actually. And there are several countries that are famous for having good food, for having good ingredients. Italy is another, right? And right now, in some of the research that we did last year precisely and the year before, we found that many people were complaining that in Italy, the majority of the restaurants do always the same 3 or 4 recipes. Yeah, it's either carbonara or arrabbiata or matriciana. And if you're lucky, you have a couple of variations, but everybody has forgotten about other recipes that used to be part. And then they start trying to go to the villages. So we know groups of tourists from the Netherlands, from Germany, from France, that they don't visit anymore the famous touristic places. They try to go to small villages in the mountains, small villages in places near the sea, because there they have the hope that they will actually, first of all, rest their brain, second, be more healthy. So where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that the adoption of sustainable practice needs to have an economic reason. And the economic reason is not only money, it's also the health of the people. When people know they're going to be more healthy, considering the amount of individuals that are reaching retirement is always higher, and they are in better health than in the previous decades, there are more people with money who can travel. Another demographic effect is that some of the new generations are not getting married early, or try not to get married early, not to have children early. And this is an economic opportunity because those people travel more. That means that you have both an aged population and a younger population that are potential new customers. And then, of course, depending on how you operate, you will attract those type of customers. Right? This basically what I'm trying to say is that you need to see why they would be interested. And this ends up also in the people that you're trying to train, Swanko, for example, because if you train them saying that, oh, yeah, this will be good for the planet, but how about you will live longer without pain, so you will not need so many medicines because you are avoiding things that are not good for you, or the proliferation of ecotourism in the sense of people who can go and pick up the olives or pick up the grapes in the farms, or that go trailing up in the mountains. This is all around satisfying. And again, I'm going to use a term of marketing, is as to satisfy the fear of people. And the fear of people is either not to have money or getting sick. Those are the two main fears. The third one is to be alone. And there are a few others that are mentioned in different papers. So the identification of these fears will make people more interested in satisfying the need.
I think,
I
thank
hope
you
I
very
made
much,
myself clear.
Massimo. Yes, and I think I saw some people nodding, and actually I see a follow-up question now from Greta. Why is there's no other way around? Why anything is sustainable everywhere? Why do we need a certification not to have a mind change? The top-down approach should serve this philosophy for a greater good. This is a political issue inside the capitalism world and paradigm. Why do we need marketing to convince people? It's a great comment, Greta. I was precisely going to comment on that. That at the moment, right now, for example, in this call, in this class, we have people who are genuinely interested in making the world around them more sustainable because they already went on that path of becoming sustainable themselves. And but at the same time, there are many companies that are very powerful that are now using sustainability agenda as to promote whatever services they have. And people, let's say the general public that does not know how to choose and what criteria to use in choosing what they should go for, instead of going to a village biofarm or ecological farm, or they go to an expensive hotel in the middle of the city like Madrid because the hotel says sustainable and promises that they will not wash your towels or something like that. So there is that problem of choice precisely for them, and the marketing engines that are very strong are capitalizing on the fears and on the wrong message. I'm not sure if that answered actually your comment, but I think it just added to it. As Swanko also writes in the chat. I see in example. I'm not sure I understand, Svanko. You mean that you're an example already of that ecological farm that has to compete with the powerful marketing machines?
Yeah, we are the example of good practice. We also have a rural house to rent, and in here local and government said we are an example of good practice.
Yeah, and
in Croatia, in all Croatia.
And what does it come with? So in terms of like your stakeholder engagement between the government and you and the general public. So what does it bring you that you are an example of good practice?
That's more visibility, more guests who knows what to do in our house. How to do be sustainable, and on these workshops they learn, and we have with this more visibility.
Well, that's actually a wonderful example of how governmental support indeed maybe does not give funds, because in most cases when one is announced a good example, it does not bring any more money from the entity that announces you as a good practice, but it does bring more visibility, and hopefully it puts you on the radar more than some other commercial proposals, you know, that are simply using the sustainability agenda. Massimo, do you want to cover anything else in this part of the class, or we go on a short break and then we see what happens?
Well, it's just to address the other side, and specifically why people are not interested in going to the talks or in listening about it and so on, is because they are not sensibilized in why it is important for them. So it is easy to become allergic to say, okay, to be the good guys, we need to do some of the same practices that the bad guys are doing. And that, of course, is when I also used to twitch immediately when somebody would tell me, hey, but it needs marketing. But yeah, but if we don't tell people, people will not know. And the big difference between an academic program, which is something where people are going to study to become professionals on a specific topic and then apply that in the future as whatever will be their professional practice, and the vocational training, which is the training for the rest of the world, and in particular for the independent companies or the companies that are smaller than the bigger corporations, is that it requires the awareness, and awareness comes in many different ways. And we live in a very complex world. Of course, now we are focusing on specific groups, right? But think about it. We are all stakeholders. We that we are in this call, we are also stakeholders, right? And with different problems, with different worries, with different needs, and with different ambition. And many times when we ask people why they do something, they will tell you what they think is the right thing to say. We all do that because we were educated this way. Yeah. And then one says, oh, why do you want your hotel to be certified in sustainability? Why do you want your hotel to have, I don't know, the green key or one of the many certifications that exist? And they will tell you, well, because in this way we show that we care about the environment and the ecosystem. No, the truth is that they're trying to attract more clients. This is the reality. And there's nothing wrong with that. We should not be afraid of saying the truth because there is an economic reason. And trying to avoid the economic question is precisely what causes that in some cases people don't see the economic reason why they should be more sustainable. We need to be more explicit. Yeah, in the corporate world, when you call one of the big 5 consulting groups, you know, you call Deloitte or the Boston Consulting Group or McKinsey, whatever, they make it very explicit. They say, if you get this type of certification, you will qualify for this market segment. And that is a tangible result. Of course, there is also the result that by applying the practice that comes with that certification, the company becomes indeed more sustainable. But for the executive in charge, the same as for the owner of a small business, is the same problem. They need first to have black numbers, not red numbers on their P&L. Because at the end of the day, it is a business. Yeah. And we can, I remember a phrase from a CEO that I admire a lot, is already retired, that says, we can make money by doing good. And that's when he decided to change completely the music inside of a company and started a completely sustainability conversation across the whole company. It was a very big company with offices in 124 countries. But the conversation went on because everybody inside were already stakeholders that needed to be convinced. So, well, having said so, I guess maybe I spoke too much now, but
no, I think it is a very good conclusion to this part of the discussion. I think this is a good start. I mean, we still have some time to go with this class, and this is a good beginning to understand where, you know, what type of organizations are represented in the class today, and what are your key challenges, your key interests in this topic of stakeholder engagement. And I think we've covered some of the adjacent topics as well, and in general the sustainability mindset and how this why do we need to get certified in sustainability if everything has to be sustainability, you know? That's a question that we're exploring right now, studying what's beyond GDP, gross domestic product, precisely what to measure correctly in order to incentivize people to be sustainable by design. But I think with this, it's been already a while. I think everybody needs a little break. Let's meet in 10 minutes. Okay, once again, welcome to the Sustainable Ecotourism Awareness project, co-funded by EU and within the Erasmus Plus project program. And now we are getting to the second part of our class, and this is going to be more. This is going to be a little bit more formal, let's say in learning terms. The first part we wanted to dedicate to you and finding out about your cases and understanding a little bit of what's the baseline of the group in terms of knowledge about stakeholder engagement and what are your experiences in that. So in the second part, I want to give you an example of one of the projects we did for which the stakeholder engagement has been quite advanced. So let me see, share screen and start presenting. Okay, so I hope that you can see my screen. I normally do not read off the slide. However, I do not want to give you yet more content than on the slide while the slide is still on. So it's going to be a bit of coordinated work between me and the slides. So one of the initiatives that we did in 2022 primarily was called Mother Earth. If you can see how it was spelled, it was Other Earth. So the idea was, let's see. So the goal was to explore how we can collaboratively and sustainably revive rural areas of Europe, which is something that we've touched on in the first part of the class. Remember, so we've spoken about a bioregion of Croatia, you know, education and sustainability. So it's all very connected. And so by creating opportunities for social and economic development, because of course that is one thing missing greatly from rural areas. So that's very unfortunate because of how much pure natural goodness that they bring. They don't at the same time at the moment bring social or economic development opportunities. So this initiative has been recognized by the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Development as SDG Sustainable Development Goals Acceleration Action. And what is special about this particular initiative? We focused on Spain as the main territory because within Spain there are more than 5,000 abandoned villages. So the problem of rural depopulation there is quite high on the agenda of local, regional, and national authorities. And it affects it affects pretty much the whole population that has to live in overcrowded cities, while there are plenty of territories that are unattended and also prone to different kind of issues because of that. And of course, here it says also that there are more than 1,000 municipalities with less than 100 citizens. So that's micro municipalities. Basically, everybody is a brother or cousin or a sister of a mayor. So let's see. In terms of stakeholder engagement, this was quite a tricky project because before you begin with any action or any initiative and you think about going and doing, you have to think what has been done. So, and what is the situation on the ground? So desktop research is necessary, not just to understand the situation, but also understand who will you be dealing with. So the first step was to research all the relevant EU policy documents, Spanish national strategies, and also the local and regional documents once we established where we're going to go. That, of course, already tells you that we were looking at the level of policymakers at the EU level. We were looking at the national government, specifically focusing on the sustainability, national government of Spain. We were then looking, let me see. Yes, we were then looking at the regional government. So this is something that I have to mention here that is very interesting is the way to identify which region to focus on was very practical. We prepared a letter of invitation to take part in this initiative, and we sent it out to 21 regional governments of Spain. So there are 21 regions, and we sent out to each of them a formal letter of invitation. We have received the answers to majority of them. Some were quite formal and just thanks but no thanks. Some were automatic replies, but we have spoken to 8 different regional governments in the online meeting, where we could establish what are their priorities, or what is their strategy at the moment, how can this project fit within their agenda. So that is a very big stakeholder group, regional governments, at least in this project. And to address it, you can see the process is quite lengthy. You first need to formally address them with a letter. That's almost always the way, because if you just show up or if you just call them, you are unlikely to get any response, because you need to get to the right part of the government as well. So because the regional government is not just one person, it's a variety of different departments and different officers and representatives and so on and so forth. So when you send your letter, it first has to arrive to the person to whom it is the most relevant. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat as I'm speaking and sharing the story. Okay, so after the different conversations with different regional governments, we have chosen a region of Galicia because the government was already working towards reviving rural areas. And it is always easier that your key stakeholder group has the same interest as you. So we wanted to revive the rural areas, and they already started doing something towards this goal. So together, it promises to be quite a nice collaboration. At the time, Galicia had 2 flagship projects. One was Aldeas Inteligentes. This is an EU, it's a EU-wide program. So it was across the whole European Union to revive the rural areas. They were bringing in all kinds of digital transition technology into villages in the aspiration to, I'll stop sharing for a moment, in the aspiration to make those villages smarter, digitally smarter, and to somehow attract people to either stay there or come back. In the region of Galicia, the government noticed pretty fast after implementing the intelligence into these areas that it is not enough to bring people back. So at that time, so our key stakeholder group, which is the regional government, they faced a challenge, which is how to revive the socio-economic fabric of the rural areas, because digital apparently is not enough. And that was the moment when we approached them as a think tank that was saying we want to repopulate rural areas and create social and economic opportunities. So that was kind of a coincidence. And it worked out quite well at that moment in time. Of course, this was not the end of the stakeholder engagement. It was only the beginning of the stakeholder engagement process. So let's go back a little bit to the presentation. So how did we engage with the different governmental layers? So we actually even secured a meeting with the national minister of sustainability and Agenda 2030 of Spain. It was, I wouldn't say it was a long conversation. I think we got given around half an hour of his time, but I think it showed how important that issue was at the level of the national government. So it was something to do with sustainability, it was to achieve Agenda 2030, and it was to revive rural areas. So all the things that were high in the agenda of the national government. So in stakeholder engagement journey of this initiative, we have secured, let's say, the approval from the national government. Then, as I mentioned, when we approached the regional government, we had to wait until until our letter arrives at the right place inside the regional government. So engaging stakeholders is a tricky process because it takes a lot of time, and a different type of actors need different type of approach. For now, I've been talking a lot about the governments, but with many actions that are on sustainability, at the moment, governments are still the main decision maker, because they can say, we give you our blessing and maybe even funds. That's rare, but the blessing is also important. So in the government of Galicia, we have, our letter has made it to the right place, the Agency for the Rural Development of Galicia. And we started with a few online meetings where we discussed, so what is our vision for this project? What is their vision for their initiative, Aldeas Modelo, and how do they think this collaboration could work? After which, we had actually a visit and a meeting at their premises in Santiago de Compostela. And I'm sharing quite a detailed journey on purpose, because it's nice to have an idea to do a good thing. I will stop sharing for a moment. It's to have an idea to do a good initiative, something dedicated to sustainability, something dedicated to green certification, something dedicated to making the world a better place. But if one does not go around it the right way, they will just stay under the radar forever. So, of course, a small organization cannot compete with somebody like a corporation on marketing because of the amount of resources and money that a corporation can invest in it. But as Wonka mentioned in the first part, if the government gives its blessing, it can also give more visibility. And that's precisely why with the initiative of Mother Earth, we decided we're not going to be just grassroots. So starting from scratch, starting from the bottom up completely without any support. We have done it in the past. It's a hard way. And we decided that this time we're going to start our stakeholder engagement in a more, if the policies are brought to us top down, then maybe we should approach it top down. You know, and at the same time bottom up. It was a combination. So I come back to my slides and continue telling you the story. So one other organization where we had a chance to build awareness, and again, this is a different. So with one actor, such as national government, we just needed to secure that they give us their okay, their approval. So that's one type of engagement. Then in the Vigo Free Trade Consortium, so Chamber of Commerce, basically of the city Vigo in Galicia, we had a chance to present our initiative. So we had a chance to build awareness. And that is also a very mild way of engaging stakeholders. Then, of course, in the middle, you see when we were engaging with Agadir, with the Galician Rural Agency, that was already a different type of engagement because we were collaborating to do something together. We were closely connected to them at that time. And I'm mentioning it now because at some point in this lecture, I will show you in this class, I will show you the quadrant of mapping the stakeholders and how to engage them. So at the moment, I'm just guiding you through what was the actual practical journey. As part of the continuous stakeholder engagement, because of course, we are not on the ground yet, but we are about to get there. So the initiative Mother Earth, at the same time, we applied with it to the European Union Break Fellowship for Women Entrepreneurs. And it was granted 1 month's stay in one of the villages of Galicia, province of Pontevedra. And okay, hello, fellow breaker. Now that Carla, nice to know that I will ask you later which cohort you were. I was the very first cohort in 2022. Okay, cool. That's quite a coincidence. I'm happy to hear that. So 1 month stay in the village of Sieda. It had all the different elements that I needed to see in real life to understand how the small villages are built in the province of Pontevedra and in general in Galicia. So to understand, this was the time to understand local stakeholders. As you can see written here, we established contact with local associations, sustainable entrepreneurs, local schools, and it was quite a packed time. It was 1 month flew by very fast. So let's see. Yeah, this doesn't say much about the content of the field work, I think, but it was very interesting because let me see if I have more. No, okay. So so during October 2022, I was staying inside Sieda, and basically I was having meetings with different organizations. Let me stop sharing. I was having meetings with different representatives of local associations. So the Association of Foresters, there's Association of Local Entrepreneurs of Sieda. Then there was an association dedicated to a yearly festival of empanada, which is the Galician treat. Then, of course, there were sustainable entrepreneurs. So there was the farm that was producing dried fruits using only solar energy. And in general, all their methods were completely sustainable. They filtered the water themselves. They built actually the solar panel dryer for the fruits, together with the University of Santiago de Compostela. And that farm has secured 2 different types of support from European Union. And it was nice to see, similar to Skupchenko, it was nice to see how they were trying to spread their knowledge. So they were hosting, excuse me, they were hosting workshops. They were hosting the visits for the children. They were hosting the students from the University of Santiago de Compostela. So it was great to see how small enthusiasts arrive so far in sharing their knowledge. At the same time, there was a sustainable entrepreneur who started a fully sustainable store, meaning there was not even plastic in that store, and any product that was wrapped in plastic was not welcome in the store. So what was remarkable, though, with all their good intentions and all their knowledge, they were not able to engage their local community. So the local community, out of less than 1,000 that lived in the center of Sierra and 9,000 overall in different parts of that village, they were not able to communicate clearly that why the local people should, for example, purchase products from them and not the supermarket chains that were there in the village. And this was a huge problem of stakeholder engagement, I think, because the person with the store was only talking to people who entered the store, trying to explain to them what works, how, and why. But his, let's say, his promotion of his store did not go beyond, not even to the building next door, or to the building opposite, or to the little hotel, the one and only that is located in that village, where they can potentially put their flyers and spread some word. This is not the only way, of course, and this is not, depending on the crowd, is not the best way. So many local people, and that was one of the findings, did not know that they have a sustainable farm that is growing fruits and vegetables in a completely clean manner, completely biological. They're also certified. And they did not know that they have a store that is only sourcing the products that are good. So, and that is one of the challenges. It's easy to impress people who are already moving in a sustainability direction, but it's very hard to convince the local population that is still living in a traditional way, how they think it's right. So I'll go back to the slides. One other thing, part of the field work that we did, and of course, it was important to not only okay. The Break Fellowship, Greta, if you mean the Break Fellowship, it is a program that was done within a grant by Spanish Institute of Entrepreneurship. It ran for 3 years and invited more than 1,000 female entrepreneurs to come to Spain for 1 month and try to work on their business propositions and potentially move to Spain. That was actually a relocation program. It did not work as a relocation program at the end, but it was a very nice cultural experience. Okay.
And may I interject that it did not work because they did not do their proper work in stakeholders engagement and especially stakeholder selection. Basically, they chose aspiring entrepreneurs with the promise that they would develop, that they would create a community and develop whatever idea they have. But it actually did not connect these to the local situation. So only in the case of people like Julia, for example, that had a connection with the local situation, some people were capable to indeed find the opportunity in the territory of Spain wherever they went. But the majority, what they did was develop their own business model and then went back home and start working on their business model.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
Others just had a good time.
A lot of people, well, or not so good time, because a lot of people in my cohort, so the 12 people that were there with me in Sieda, Sieda is a tiny village, as I mentioned. The center of the village is about 1,000 people in total, and there's one single little hotel, which is, very basic, more like a dormitory. So some of the people that were with my cohort, they thought they were going to places like Malaga or a big city like Barcelona. So when they came to this village, they're like, first of all, why is it so cold? And second, where are all the clubs? It was very funny because I knew very well where I was going because I was doing all the preparation work for field work. I was preparing for my field work for quite some time. I already knew all about Galicia and all about Sieda. I learned Spanish specifically for this project. But speaking of stakeholder engagement, one of the key things, you have to speak their language one way or another. But since we are on the topic of the break, Carla, do you want to share when you participated in the break and what was your experience?
Yes, of course. I took part in the last cohort, that is autumn 2023. And I was in a different area. I was in Gran Canaria, and my host organization was Pueblos Remotos. So in English is remote villages. And so the rurality and remote areas were an issue, and that we tried to help solving. We know Canary Islands because they are a touristic destination, but at the same time, they are one of the areas in Spain that suffer from unemployment much more than other areas. So we actually had the chance to work with the local community, especially with students in high school, because one of the challenges is to let young people stay there and get a future there. So with our projects, we shared our stories and concrete strategies to help them develop their own project in their own territory. So we had the chance to work with them as a giving back to the community where we were hosted. And we had the chance also to get in touch with local entrepreneurs and with organizations helping entrepreneurs. Making a business in Spain was not the main point of the BRIC Fellowship, was just an option. And not everybody was ready to take this step, but everybody had the chance to challenge their project. For example, I had to give up thanks to the break, because my project was not strong enough to be profitable. And so thanks to the break, to their mentoring, I had the chance to test my project and say, okay, I cannot do it. So I did something different, but the most part of my colleagues in my cohort are still active. Their projects are still running. So we didn't move to Spain, and I don't think that was our main goal. But we had a wonderful opportunity to grow in any case.
Thank you very much, Carla. That's a great story. And it's true, it was not the main purpose of the people who participated in the break. However, when the project was designed by Eva Curto and her team at the Institute of Entrepreneurship, that was one of the key elements that to incentivize women entrepreneurs to come and live in Spain. I don't think that was particularly well achieved, but I know about one project that did move out of 1,000 that did move to Spain. So that is already a success, right? And by the way, thank you for sharing also that your story, that your project did not go ahead. Surprisingly, the project that I'm talking about now also closed. We decided to close fairly soon after participating in Break Fellowship, because after seeing the realities on the ground and precisely what I mentioned about how hard it is to engage local population in supporting any good initiative, how difficult it is to break their mentality from thinking, I did this 10 years ago, I'm doing it today, I'm going to do it for the next 10 years, and this is what works for me, and please stop telling me what else I should do in my life. Is you start seeing by young people and people who have different mentality, they just go away, because it's all nice and good to talk about stakeholder engagement, but you also need to choose your battles. You also need to know when to say maybe this is going to take way too long. Maybe I should look for people who are already supporting this one way or another. But let me just come back to the presentation that left there. So the second part of the field work in Galicia was dedicated to visiting aldeas modelo. So those were the villages that the government of Galicia had assigned, I think they signed off the territories in a way that they could do projects there that they consider right. And this is where we were planning to do some projects. And so I visited 5 different small villages, not small, they were tiny. They were in some less than 50 people living, in some none people living at all. And just to see the state of infrastructure, to see the state of development, the best I found was that the village still had some sort of church, a tiny church. In another place, there was an abandoned train station. So this type of realities, they also, and it had been abandoned for a while. It did not just happen. So this was collection of realities. So what happens on the ground? That's why it's so important. In stakeholder engagement, you need to speak the language of the people, but you also need to come closer to them in order to understand them better. And this is a story that we like a lot in our think tank, and we tell it quite often. So I'm going to tell it again today. So we stand for full inclusion, meaning that we want to hear the opinion of everybody. And that includes young adults and children. So one of the stakeholder groups that I have interacted with in Sieda, in Galicia, was local school for children between 3 and 12 years old. So basically from the kindergarten age all the way until middle school. And as one of the initiatives to understand them better, I hosted an event which involved the whole school, and with the support actually of my fellow breakers. In the picture, that's precisely the girls that I was with during the break fellowship. So with the support of them, we went from classroom to classroom asking one simple question. What do you love about your village, and what do you want to see here in the future? And as I mentioned, they were quite young. So a lot of them submitted their answers in drawings. It was quite a lot of work to try and sort them in order to be able to group them into different areas of interests and priorities. But it was all worth it, because as you can see, it was a beautiful work of art that the children created. So in the text, you can see the number is how many children thought that this was important. And the different categories were my friends and my family, my house, playing together, the nature, the animals, the parks. And many wrote, many painted the rivers, mountains, and the forests, things that they're surrounded with. And in principle, okay, so then we also had essays, little essays written by the older children. And 75% of them were in Spanish and 25% in the language of Galicia, Gallego. And it was quite a challenge to read them as well. However, I persevered despite my level of Spanish, maybe not at the top, but I really know how to talk about digital strategies and strategies of regions, and how to read the children's essays about the future of their villages. And so here they were also, we also sorted them into different groups. So 20 people prioritized the nature, 19 the animals, 36 prioritized their social life, such as their family, friends. Okay, I'm just reading here. Watching something together and people of their village. And 8 actually spoke about tourism and visiting their little different parts of the village and natural attractions. So the processing of these results was quite a lengthy job, but it was very important because actually, yes, so it was very important because as part of our interaction with the government of Galicia, we were preparing them a catalog of projects that can be implemented to revive a socioeconomic fabric. And to understand that, we needed to know the views and points of all the stakeholder groups. So like I mentioned before, we had the local community in general, but then we had the local enthusiasts. Then we had the sustainability enthusiasts. Then we had the sustainable entrepreneurs. We had schools, associations, forest representatives, forestry representatives. So we had a number of different local stakeholder groups. And children, local children, as the future of the village, of course, were one of them. As I mentioned, this was all part of the stakeholder engagement process that we designed during our desktop preparations. So it was quite a long process. So we began this project in June. Wait, let me see. Sometime towards the end of 2021, we started contacting the governments in June 2022, and we went to see the place in October 2022. So, and we continued working on a catalog of projects towards December 2022 and January 2023. There was a different problem with our main stakeholder, but which I will talk about in a moment. Now let's just finish with the presentation. And let's see what else. So upon arrival from the field work in the village of Sieda, I had a chance to speak directly with the, let me read it out because it's very cumbersome, with the head of Youth and Volunteer Solidarity Unit of the European Commission. I'm just going to cut it there. So that I was visiting the European Parliament during a youth event, and there was a chance to present Mother Earth and the findings from the field to the European Commission directly. And at the same time, during the same visit, I met with the Council on Labor, Migration and Social Security of Permanent Representation of Spain to the European Union. And that was another stakeholder that I wanted to keep informed. And once again, I mentioned that there are different ways to engage stakeholders. So those two, obviously, there is not a lot that we can do together on this particular project because of how their agenda is formed. Of course, we would like their support, but it was not their first priority. So that is why we basically stayed at the level that keep them informed. And okay, so from those two meetings of what happened, and from those two meetings, what happened is that the Think Tank AlterContacts was included as one of the experts on the report that was was being prepared at the time. So at the time, the European Council of Europe Youth Partnership was preparing a report on opportunities for young people living in rural areas. And so thanks to the fact that we did the field work in Galicia and prepared those insights as part of the report and catalog of projects to revive the socioeconomic fabric, we then were included as experts into this policymaking, informing policymaking. Okay, all right, so that was the end of the presentation. However, it was not the end of the story. So let's see. One other thing that we did within that project was host several corporate workshops. So it was workshops targeting corporate workers from different companies. And the idea was to revive rural areas by populating them with corporate workers, by building so-called corporate villages. Besides the obvious that the colleagues said that they don't want to live with each other next door and knock on each other's door asking for salt or anything like that in the middle of the night, that they really want to rest from each other at the end of the day. Besides that, there were some key issues, for example, that actually hinder most of their rural revival projects, which is lack of medical support, absence of school, and some basic infrastructure, sometimes even a little store. So many times local governments, local municipalities, they say, we want to bring more people and we're going to provide free living in some abandoned half broken property to a family with 2 children, you know, and so they target families with children without having hospitals nearby or even a medical center or even a pharmacy, no school or any kindergarten. So that tells you a lot about, so local municipality wants to have people in that village. However, they don't think at all about their key stakeholder, which is the family with the children. And that stakeholder wants to have this and this and this and this and this service, and maybe doesn't even want that, they need it. So there is a disconnect, and Massimo is telling me that, writing that the €1 houses are all built like that. A person buys for €1 a completely abandoned, ruined property in a village that is dying out, literally, where there's not even a store, and one needs a car to get there. And they say, well, it's a €1 house. Yes, €1 house and 100,000 euros of costs. And then one ends up being abandoned. So maybe that's, I feel a bit passionate about this topic of rural resettlement because we spent 2 years doing that. The story ended quite interestingly. And this is a big lesson about stakeholder engagement. Besides the good outcomes that we were able to inform the policymaking at the level of European Commission and the United Nations through different channels, through supplying our insights, and of course, the engagement of the different local stakeholders, and especially children who all receive their certificates. Besides that, there was, of course, a reason why we did not continue. Our key stakeholder that we were working closely with was the government of regional government. And as any government, it has it has a big influence from their, let's say, the political moment of what's on in the political agenda and who is in charge. And in the process of us designing the catalog of projects, submitting it, getting it reviewed, and practically getting it approved, and getting to the point of signing the contract so we can introduce those projects on the ground, the political party that was in charge there somehow changed, and they said, whatever was prepared before, we are not interested in. And this is something that when you work with stakeholders, especially if their stakeholders are governments, one has to just be prepared for. I would not lie, it was quite a blow. After all the work that we've done together with the previous government, it was at the beginning hard to accept, but we found the silver lining, of course. The silver lining was that despite the fact that the project, the practical project that we would be doing something on the ground further, could not go ahead, we had the insights. So we had the research component done to the very high level and to the very big depths. And that was, that continued feeding our future field research. So we continued building on it, but already in a research aspect rather than in the aspect of practical groundwork. Besides, of course, as I mentioned, activating local communities in remote villages is the hardest task. It's easy to get somebody who lives already in a city to participate in a webinar. And even then, it can be a challenge, but to have a local person who is very set in their views and does not feel like they need to learn anything new, to have him get up and go somewhere and sit in a meeting and then try to comprehend what's happening and then try to implement that is very, very challenging. So coming back to what Zvonko shared at the beginning of our class, I do not envy the fact that you're going through this process, because of course, in stakeholder engagement of local communities, one has to go for people who are already a little bit on that path. And I think I've spoken enough. Maybe now I open for questions and comments. Zvonko, if you wanted to, if the story inspired you in any way and you want to add something.
We are also the initiator of the Camino Međimurje route. We also the social destination with the Autist Association in Međimurje plant 85 trees of chestnuts together, and that's feeling you feel that autistic people do this work. It's something amazing. And I know how to feel you to do in the project you do. But
thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Zvonko. And if I understood correctly, so you're planting the trees with the autistic children.
Yes.
Yes, and it's a very beautiful initiative. And I think actually I've noticed also in rural areas across communities that have people with special needs, sometimes it's a very good ground on introducing this new sustainable ideas, because for example, in another village where I did the field work, Mszana Dolna of Poland, in Lesser Poland, there is a big community of children with Down syndrome. And that same community is actually driving quite a lot of sustainable innovation in those villages. They host events, they organize precisely the tree planting things, they go out and do all kinds of other good things, and it's all driven because the caretakers of the children, of the people with that syndrome, they want to give them opportunities to do something. And so that's a very strong community indeed. All right, so maybe Greta, we haven't heard you in a while. So did you get any ideas based on the story or something that maybe resonated, some other experience that you would like to share as well?
I was thinking about my city, and I live in Turin, in the very north of Italy, close to the Alps. And usually during the summer, I rent a small flat in close to the Alps, and we can experience all this, the same problem of people living the small villages in the mountain. And also I knew a couple of very young people with one kid. They tried to move and to live there, but they were going through a lot of difficulties. And it's like you said, administration wants you to move, but they don't get that they have to give you service, welfare, and basic stuff. So I was wondering if you have any case studies that successfully resolved the problem of rural resettlement, or maybe in the mountain. Or
it's a shame that Massimo's connection is not so great at the moment, because he does have in his experience, he's actually even seen the places where some of the things were well done. Although most of the experiences that we see, most of the case studies that we see are it's very tricky because the amount of infrastructure one needs to introduce to make one tiny settlement work is too much. And if it's in the mountains, for example, it just does not get there, I think. But I will leave that kind of in a parking lot for the moment. Maybe somebody else knows a case study that managed to do it. And Carla, I saw you nodding.
Maybe it can work if I try on audio only.
Okay, Massimo. Yeah, yes. I didn't.
Maybe without the video, because there have been some successful situations. Well, one very good story was, for example, there is a village, I forgot the name, in Portugal, and basically when everybody was putting their houses on Airbnb everywhere and so on, they realized that probably working together they could seize a better opportunity. So what happens is that the whole village became one big resort. But they are organized in a way similar to an association of businesses, to the associations that exist in many villages, like the Chamber of Commerce and things like that. And they said, okay, what everybody can do to give services for the tourists becomes the contribution to the whole village resort. So, for example, the restaurant that already exists is the restaurant that we recommend and becomes part of it. So they started sharing, first helping each other.
I will just summarize really quickly what Massimo said from what I understood and from what I know the story. Basically, it's about collective living and collective sharing. So probably it's a school based on parents knowing something and then teaching all the children something that they know, and that's how the school is formed. And then restaurant becomes the community restaurant, and they're recommended for the student, for the tourists, and also for the locals. So maybe in that format, but it's a little bit and maybe it did work, but I think it requires probably perfect weather conditions, because the moment the crisis strikes over the weather or road being closed, no collective I think that's a challenge too hard to tackle in this particular class at the moment. But I wanted to go to Carla because I saw you nodding while Greta was telling her story, and maybe you wanted to add something also.
Yes, I was nodding because what Greta says is very, very true. It came into my mind a recent initiative from our national government to tackle the problem of rural areas in abandoned areas in Sicily, and again they give you cheap houses, but that is not a system in which you can thrive, and it's not a long-term vision and a long-term project, a long-term strategy. So it's a waste of public money, and it's not the solution to the problem. So I'm happy to hear a success case in Portugal. It would be great to know the name of the community to learn more about it, or I will simply ask Google to help me find it, because I'm pretty curious how they managed to do that.
Well, I think we can find the name for you and then include it in the description maybe of the course when it's going to get uploaded to Moodle. Thank you very much, Carla, and I'm very thankful to everybody who's listening, but especially to Carlos Wonko and Greta, who are participating actively, and of course to Massimo, who is participating on and off with us. As we come into the closing of our class slowly, I want to share this diagram with you. I mentioned previously, that there was a different way to engage different types of stakeholders. So national government, they just said, okay, we approve that you want to do this. With the regional government, we needed them as key players. So the point is that each stakeholder that can affect you and that you can affect has both interest and influence or power. So in the case of the government, the power is very high. The interest, in case of national government, not so high. I mean, there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of little initiatives like what we were starting at the time. And for the regional government, however, it was very high. So they were the key players for us. So as it says on the matrix on the right, they're architects, so manage closely with regular updates and involvement. So in our case, the regional governments were very involved because they were key players. In the case of, let's see, who else we had? The national government. They had very high power, but they did not have any interest. Or little interest, let's say. I mean, international organization coming to their country is still kind of interesting. So they were observers. Keep them satisfied with periodic outcome-oriented updates. Then who else did we discuss? We discussed the local community, but then within local community, we had many different groups. So let's say sustainability enthusiasts. They had very high interest because they thought we could bring them some funding or attention or visibility or something, but they had low power in their community because even for themselves, they could not activate. So we're looking at the quadrant low power, high interest, and that makes them observers. Oh, why not? Oh, yes. So the national government was casual observers, loop them in until the breakthrough. And the observers keep them satisfied and informed with periodic updates. Indeed, that's basically how it was. Let's see who else we had in the high interest and low. Oh no, okay, so they have, okay, this, it's written a little bit in a very small font, so I have to increase it a little bit. Okay, so let me correct myself. The sustainability entrepreneurs were in the quadrant explorers because they had high interest and low power, and we needed to keep them informed through shared repositories and other information. So basically, whenever you are starting a project or even in the middle of the project, it's never too late. But better before than after, you you need to choose one of these power matrices, because you cannot use two. You saw how confusing it is to use two different ones at the same time. I gave you two options because some people like less text, some people like more text, and orientation also matters. But the point is, let me stop sharing now, I think. So the point, before you start any project, you need to write down your stakeholder groups. So who do you think need to be engaged? And for us, it was national government, regional government, local government, so local municipality. Then we have local school associations, sustainability entrepreneurs, normal meaning that they're not sustainable, but just small business owners. Then we had local population as a general group. So we had to list them all. From there, we had, of course, to think what is their power to influence us, to influence our project, and what is their interest in having our project there. And that is how you map them. And the people who, the stakeholder groups that end up in the key players, so they're high power or high influence and they're high interest, those are the groups that you need to really, really engage from the beginning. You cannot postpone it. They cannot be last to know. They have to be the first to know. Actually, it's better to ask them, how do you think we should do it? Even if you have an idea how to do it, that's okay. But if you ask them, how do you think we should do it? They will feel involved in the decision making. And that is one of the key elements. You have to, with stakeholders, by majority of the time, they want to be engaged in decision making. They want to feel that they're important, even if they're not important per se for your project, but they want to feel that they're important. And I think that is nice to remember if you want your project to succeed. And of course, none of the projects is born in a vacuum. If one is doing it from their own house and they're not asking anybody about anything, that means you're not engaging any stakeholders. And that means your project is probably good for none of them, because you have not asked them anything. So it's important also, there are materials that can help you, maybe, I don't know if this is within our course that we need to go into the empathy mapping and things like that. But let me see if I can find a couple of slides that maybe will be useful for you. Okay, so let me share. So, and then present. Okay, so you've seen this quadrant already. Then the other one is a bit irrelevant. But so one of the things, let me start from empathy map. So in stakeholder engagement, we already mentioned that the first thing is to understand who are the stakeholder groups. Preferably, who are the people within each group, because no group is homogeneous. In every group, you have people who are more active, more vocal, and you need to be mindful of that. And so an important point is to start with an empathy map for each person, for each representative of your stakeholder group. You need to understand what they think and feel, and all the surroundings, what they hear, say, see, and do. And of course, what is their purpose? So what is their main goal? We started from saying that the stakeholders, that we can engage small businesses in green certification, and if we show how that influences their money, how it influences their pocket. But that is not always the only way to engage them, because some businesses are interested in, for example, visibility more than money, just because they want to be important, they want to get on a TED Talk. And so if you help them to do that, because they will get the green certification, then you understand them, that they are together with you. So empathy map is a good tool for you to use in the start of the project, of any initiative. It's never too late. Try to understand as much as possible about people you will involve. Then we go from empathy map to the design thinking process. And people talk a lot about design thinking, but in reality, it is simply that you do not unilaterally design an action and then implement it, because you do not exist in a vacuum. If you want your action to work for you, that's how it is to do it. But if you want your action to work for other people, first you start from trying to understand them. So you empathize with them. Then you try to define what is their key issue, because to convince any stakeholder group to work with you, to support you, or to come to your webinar, or to come to your workshop, or to pursue the green certification, you need to understand what is their problem at the moment. This is the definition time. And from there, you need to start thinking what ideas exist out there that already solve that problem, and what ideas do I have to help them solve that problem. And of course, it's nice to check with them regularly if this is something that will work for them. And then almost last but not least is the prototype, is when you design already a concrete solution and you test it with 1 or 2 people from your stakeholder group, from direct, not with your friends, not with your relatives, not with the people who you met and who are random people, but with the representatives of that stakeholder group. So if you want to design a process for the people from the local community who are at the moment not following any sustainability practices, those are the people you need to practice with that prototype. So you bring that idea, the prototype of the idea, to those people, not to government, not to school, but to local community. If you want your idea to work for the government, you prototype it with the governmental representatives. So it has to be very targeted. And basically you test if it works for them, you collect their feedback. So at the end of almost every class, we collect the feedback. We ask, what was your key takeaway from today? Because we want to continue improving our way of delivering classes, for example. Let me see. So yeah, that's already from another thing. So I will stop sharing here. I think this is a good amount of theory, finishing with our stakeholder exploration. I will just open the floor now for some finishing thoughts from our wonderful participants, and then I think we'll start wrapping up. Yes, Massimo.
Does my audio work now?
Yes, it does for now.
I don't know, Suanko, do you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. That means that now I'm connected with the phone, because finally is the thing that connects the best. One remark that I have, and this is always when we use, design thinking, empathy maps, and when we try to do anything, is that forget about changing the way people think, because we are not prophets, we are not messiahs, we are simple people just like the others. And then what these tools allow you is to understand what is the value, what is important for the stakeholder, and to understand the way to engage them. So understanding, is there interest in any specific point, and then understand how to reach them, through which channel. Because part of the stakeholder engagement journey is to create trust, for example. Another is just to leave them alone, because some type of stakeholders do not want to be bothered. They just want to be informed once in a while, and they are happy with that. So the obsessive communication, or trying to communicate to all channels when it's not necessary, would be just a waste of effort. It would be just a waste of energy. So if you do a simple map like the quadrant that Julia showed, which ones are the ones that may have more influence or can impact your idea? Which ones are the ones that do not have a lot of impact? But maybe you discover that the ones that you think do not have a lot of impact, maybe they know a lot of people and they gossip a lot and they speak with a lot of people. And then maybe they are influencers. So they also become relevant. And then you need to craft what type of communication you have for them. So there are some famous movies out there, like the famous Erin Brockovich, and another couple of movies that tell the stories of people who go to try to do something in remote places. And those stories are very true. So what is important sometimes is to look beyond the first thing that you see, the first horizon. Because in the first horizon, maybe you see, okay, this is where the opportunity is, this is what is the interest. But then if you look just a little bit more, take the time to observe, and this is particularly design thinking. What do the people do? How do they do it? And understand why they do things in that way. And especially when it comes to sustainable practices, there is always a reason why people cannot be sustainable or cannot implement a policy or a regulation. And then they see it as an obstacle that they don't even try because they think it's just expensive. So it's about these type of things take time. There is no magic wand. There is no, 3 minutes solution. And beyond the canvases and the quadrants, there is no magic tool. We really have, and AI will not help you, by the way. So far, none of the AI tools have been capable to show empathy and have been capable to actually do a stakeholder analysis in a proper way. Sadly, it is about dialogue. And luckily, it's about dialogue because humanity needs that. I mean, this disconnected world that we have created with an internet without identity. But now I'm philosophizing.
And often,
So,
often what people say,
that's
often what people say is not what people will actually do. So that is also why you need to be there with them and actually see beyond what they say, because that's why surveys often are not effective, because people, you ask, what do you think about that? Well, I think one thing and I will do another thing. That's in most cases, because we tend to idealize how good we are, maybe. Or on the contrary, some people the opposite. They try to, the bottom line, you have to see beyond what people say. And indeed, the AI is not a good helper. It's all about you going there and helping people and talking to them and listening, and actually listening more than talking. Today, I spoke a lot, but that's the nature of the class. But I'm very grateful that I was joined by Massimo every now and then. And I'm very grateful actually for participation of our 3 really active students, Greta, Carla, and Zvon, because thank you so much. And as we're closing the class, maybe you would like to share a few words with your key takeaway or something that stuck with you and that you will be thinking about beyond this class. Let's start with Zvonko, because I heard you, I saw you nodding a lot while Massimo was speaking.
Okay. That's Massimo said before. I not much talking. I'm doing and share what I do. That's the best thing. If you talk too much, they don't understand you, what you want to say, what you want to do. I show them what they must do. That's the best thing I do.
Thank you very much, Zvonko. It's actually great insight indeed. Lead by example. This is what it is. Lead by example.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. And
yes, it's very good because that also creates trust, because
yes,
we can say many words, but when one lives by example or leads by example, then it's noticeable. There is no question, I mean, it's visible, and that is also very important. Yes.
And I think there is a comment in the audience that says the best type of leadership. I think that's for you, Zvonko. Okay, Greta, would you like to share your thoughts about your key takeaway from today?
Well, I have a lot of new ideas to bring back to my students. I have just to organize them, but it was very, very helpful, and I had a lot of insight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to know that there's already something that you can teach further, teach to others, because the train the trainers is one of our goals here. And thank you very much, Greta. Carla?
Okay, I have 3 keywords as a takeaway, and I would say they are relations, listening, and co-creation.
Well, that's a very nice summary indeed of what we've been discussing today. It's a great skill to be able to summarize such a long discussion in 3 words. It's wonderful. And just remember, with the co-creation, your audience has to be also at the same level of development maturity as you, because often the co-creation is perceived as inventing on the go, so people don't know, as in people don't, as the think tank that always tries to co-create with people. We always try to do interactivity. We always try to engage the intelligence of the people that we have in the audience into the conversation, the broader conversation. That is often perceived as other things. So let's hope that the co-creation finds its right audience. And today, I'm very grateful that we had wonderful participants that actually spoke with us and actually shared your stories. And I think with this, Daniela, if you permit, I would like to announce if you want to say something, I'm not sure if this is part of the procedure. Daniela is the coordinator of the Sustainable Ecotourism Awareness project.
I'm sorry I'm very happy for the lesson because it was very practical and basis on the tool that you can use not only in the field of tourism, but everywhere. In fact, empathy map, stakeholder map, it's a tool very, very used in very large way. So it's very interesting. I hope that more people could enjoy with your lesson in a remote in recorded way. And nothing else. Thanks. You are as usual clear, very clear, and smart. And I love. And I love the slide for the break. Great. It's simple, It's a very simple idea, but it's very powerful. I don't know how to explain. I like it very much.
Well, thank you very much, Danielle. Thank you very much, everybody. I see that lots of thank yous all from the chat, from other participants. I'm very grateful for this class, to you all for who actually dedicated quite a lot of time to it today, almost 3 hours. And with this, I encourage you to connect with me and with Massimo. Let me just copy paste sorry, it is not in terms of bragging. It is so you can connect with me on LinkedIn and also with Massimo. And please do share. Yes, do press connect. I will be very happy to stay in touch. And I hope you will enjoy your next class. But for now, thank you very much for attending the class dedicated to stakeholder engagement tourism of the EU co-funded project, Sustainable Ecotourism Awareness. Thank you very much.